There is actually a little bit, they've been pushing it a little bit, and they actually got some to grow in Hawaii. That's relatively new. It all starts at 20 degrees of the equator. Grows on the trunk of a tree. Most fruit grows on where the leaves come off, and that's where most fruit grows. This is technically fruit, but it actually grows on the trunk of a tree. Grows mostly in shade, under banana trees or coconut trees. And this is actually a real cocoa pod. There's about 80 beans inside, and it's very old. This one is garbage now, but you can actually hear them inside. They take this is actually a cocoa pod right here, and they cut it open when it's ripe. And there's a white film on the outside, which is pretty sweet. They let that dry in beds like this. They let them grow out in the sun, and it turns to a purplish color. So then they take those, and I'll be happy to answer any questions after. They take it, ship it in burlap bags to this country or other countries, and roast them and grind them and turn it into chocolate. And I'll explain how that is all done. Okay, these are actually cocoa beans. There's about 80 cocoa beans in the average pod. After they're dried, like I showed you, this is how they ship them to this country. They take this and they put it in the extremely high heat at about 1200 degrees. And that cracks the outer shell off. Chocolate is actually made from what they call the meat of the bean, which is the inside. The shell, which I have some right here, is mostly sold in Home Depots and garden supply houses. You put them around your flowers, and when it rains, your yard actually smells like chocolate. You attract every bee in the neighborhood, which isn't a bad thing because the plants like that. But that's what they do with this. It's for fertilizer. This is actually the meat of the bean. This is how all chocolate begins. They crack the outer shell off, and they get this pot, and they call it the nib. They take the nib, and they grind it to a liquid. It turns into a liquid. And they take the liquid, and they start the process of chocolate. But they also take the liquid, and they press it, and they get two ingredients out of it. One is chocolate, cocoa powder, and one is cocoa butter in the hydraulic press. Now, everybody knows cocoa is used in drinks, brownie mix, so forth, cake mix, and all those things. The cocoa butter is used in a lot of other things like cosmetics and so forth, but we also use some of it back in the chocolate process. So you take the chocolate liquor, and we take extra cocoa butter, milk powder, soy lecithin, and vanilla, and sugar, and turn it into chocolate. Now, we take ours, and this is what they call a refiner conch. This actually came out of the Necco Candy Company in Revere, Mass, when they closed it up and had an auction. This can make 5,000 pounds of chocolate every 15 hours. So we can make a lot of chocolate. We actually have 4 machines, but only one running so far. We're a 98-year-old family business, and we've been making our own chocolate for the last 3 years, which is pretty cool, because before that, we used to buy 50-pound cases and turn it into finished products. Now we make our own chocolate and turn it into finished products like we did before. So, our ultimate goal is to become a chocolate supplier to the industry. So people like that here buy 10-pound bars and turn it into finished products. That's what we're trying to accomplish, is selling the 10-pound bars so they can buy and melt it and use it in their facility. And we've had 10 people do that so far, which is pretty cool. Then we take it, after it comes out of this, we temper it, we mold it up, and we put it into disc form. Right now we don't do the 10-pound bars, but we do it in chip form so that other people can use it and remelt it. So, anybody got any questions so far? No questions? Come on, Tyler, you gotta have something. This is my niece up here, sitting in the front. So it's all good. It's a family-owned business. I wouldn't have it any other way. Let's see. Any questions on any candy? Come on, you gotta have something. Okay, well, it takes 7 years to grow a cocoa pod. Actually, it takes 7 years for a pod to bear fruit. Once it does that, from what I understand, bears fruit twice a year. But the trouble is to get it to that 7-year point. But once it bears fruit, it just continuously runs. Grows a new one, they cut another one off and keep it going. And that's where all the chocolate in this room comes from. Good question. Good question. Come on, somebody's gonna have another one.
You love what you do.
What?
You love what you
I actually do love what I do. I'm 63 years old. I've made chocolates for at least 52 of them. My grandfather started teaching me when I was around 10, and technically I've never worked a day in my life. My wife says if I get a cut, I bleed chocolate. She's probably right. And as anybody's ever come by the booth, they know I love to talk about chocolate, and how chocolate's made, where it comes from. And if you would have asked me 10 or 12 years ago, would I be making my own chocolate, I would have said no. But about 8 years ago, about 10 years ago, they closed a plant up in Mansfield called Merkin's Chocolate. And I became good friends over the years with a person that worked in the lab. His name was Jerry Ewan. And I got to know the plant manager because, like I said, we buy about 250,000 pounds of chocolate a year. So I placed an order. We were only 30 minutes south of them. I placed an order in the morning, rent a 26-foot truck to go pick up what we needed. Swing by the office, drop a check for the last order, and pick up more and come back. Your mom did that a few times with us. And so I got to know everybody up there pretty well. And they closed that plant at least 10 years ago. And about 2 years after that, the plant manager, which I became friends with, came into my place and he says, why don't you start making your own chocolate? And I said, Frank, I don't know how. I knew how to take chocolate itself and turn it into finished goods, but I didn't know how to make the chocolate itself. And he says, well, I think I know somebody that can help you with that. So he did. We went out, we started researching bean to bar, which is a term where if you buy cocoa beans and you turn it into finished products. A lot of places will do that. We started researching the bean to bar equipment, but I couldn't make enough for myself. So I looked at my boys and I said, for $500,000 investment, we still got to buy chocolate. We can't make enough. So that's when we found the equipment from NECO that went up for auction. We were able to buy it, move it, and we had to find it a home, so we moved it a few times to get it to the home where we're at now. It had the proper power, had to have the floor capacity, because that machine that I showed you weighs 18,000 pounds. So it had to hold it up. So we found an old supermarket building that we manufacture our chocolates in now. We're in 27,000 square feet. We've done a lot of crazy. My kids get mad at me because if somebody come up to the booth and say, somewhere and say, can you manufacture whatever involving chocolate? And I say, yes, we can. And I have no idea sometimes how we're going to do that. And they look at me and say, Dad, you just said yes that we can do that. I said, well, now it's up to us to figure it out how. So we've done a lot of crazy work. You ever hear of a product called Bach Thins? You've seen it on Walmart, CVS. They all sell these bags of a thin chocolate bar. I'm proud to say that we actually made the first sample for that, and we got SQF certified. And out of the first sample that we gave the guy, he went and sold £250,000. First order. And he said to me, I need to own your company before I give you this order. I said, well, I guess we keep eating hot dogs a little longer because we're going to stay a family business. And he went elsewhere and had it made, and about 6 years later sold the company for about $50 million. Guess what? I wouldn't have got any of that anyways, so it didn't really matter. So we still own the family-owned business. Now we're making our own chocolate, and I can go compete with those guys now. We have we're adding what they call ball mills to it, to the chocolate process. And once I get the ball mills running, we'll be able to make about 48,000 pounds of chocolate a day, which is a lot of chocolate. A lot of chocolate. Then one day is 9,000 pounds, which is still a lot of chocolate. But so we've done work for Trader Joe's. We made 3 different items for Trader Joe's over the years. We no longer do that because the buyer switched off and moved on to somebody else, but which is fine. It's all part of the learning curve. So, any questions about any chocolate? I've made a lot of crazy things. Made saltwater taffy. That's one thing we'll never go back to doing. Yeah, learn that the hard way. It's not for me. So we did that for about 3 years, and I got sick of pounding my head against the wall, so we moved on. And but chocolate's our thing, and it's all good. Go ahead. We own a company called Dorothy Cox's Candies, and it's located in Fall River, Mass. Currently. That's where our factory is now. Started in New Bedford, Mass. And actually, I'll tell you a quick history of our company. Back in 1928, during the Great Depression, Dorothy Cox, which was my great aunt, was a single woman. She had a job as a secretary in the mill, and they let her go to give her job to a male that had a family. So she still had to support herself. So she started making chocolates at home and started renting a table on Saturdays called in the New Bedford Dry Goods Store, New Bedford, Mass. That's where actually Moby Dick was written from, in the whaling days. But she started renting tables on Saturdays, selling chocolates. We've had it up, at certain points of our life, we've had as many as 60 employees. And right now we're currently running with about 19. But that works. We've automated some things, switched it up. And my grandfather took it over in 1944 when the original Dorothy passed away. And in 1978, my grandfather ran it from 1944 to 78. He wanted to retire. In 1978, there was only 2 people in the country, in the company. That was my mom and my grandfather. And the only reason it was just those 2 was my mom was the only person that could put up with my grandfather. A lot of people didn't get along with my grandfather. Your great-grandfather he was a piece of work. But him and I got along fine. But 1978, my dad had a nice job working for the city of New Bedford. And my grandfather wanted to retire, and we had this business. So he sat me, myself, and her dad down. I was just a freshman in high school and said, what do you guys want to do for the rest of your life? I said, I knew at that point I wanted to make chocolates. And we had this little tiny business. And my sister said she wanted to sell it. Her dad said he wanted to make chocolates along with us. And so my dad actually quit his job, which not many people would do for their kids. Quit his job and got back into the company. And he retired. My dad didn't retire, but he made me president of the company in 1985. The year I got married, and he said, I don't want to happen to you what happened to me. My dad ended up loving the chocolate business, but it was pretty cool, to have my father turn over the company to me and her dad and my sister, basically in 1985. So here we are, X number of years later. We're making our own chocolate for the last 3 years. The first batch of chocolate we made was actually June 5th of 1923, and that's the day my dad passed. And yeah, 23. It's coming up next week. And so as of next week, we've made all our own chocolate for the last 3 years. Pretty cool, pretty cool. You know, the day that we knew my dad was going to pass that day, and we started a batch of chocolate, and I went into work and I said to my son Brian, I said, Kim's going to pass today. That was my dad. That's what we all called him. And he said, do you want to continue? I said, hell yeah, he'd want us to continue today. So we made 1,000 pounds of milk and 1,000 pounds of dark that day. So it's one of those things that we'll never forget. Part of the company history. But I've learned a lot about making chocolate in the last 3 years. A lot about making chocolate in the last 3 years. Time, temperatures, so forth. And it's gotten a lot better in 3 years, I'll tell you that. And I think if you can stop by our booth down at the 160, we got 6 or 7 booths down there. Try our chocolate. Give me your opinion. All right? Go ahead.
160 to 166.
She answered it?
Yeah.
Good. Good.
160 to 166.
I don't know what that means.
Anybody got any other questions about any candy? I can probably help you with it. I've made a lot of crazy things and learned a lot, been a lot of different plants to see how things are made. You know, this guy right there sells equipment to make chocolates and stuff like that. Ian over there. I've known Ian in a couple weeks too. Well, I won't show our gray beards, right, brother? Any other questions? Go ahead, sweetheart. What do you got? Holler it out. Come up here so I can hear you. What's my favorite flavor to make? I actually enjoy making what they call an almond butter crunch, where you take butter and sugar and cook it to a high candy stage. But that's our #1 seller. I seem to enjoy still making that. And that's the only recipe in the company that we started in 1928 that's never changed. But I still enjoy it. I don't know, it's like second nature to me. We've made a lot of it. So, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Huh? What do you want to do? What do you want to go to school for? Come on. Putting you on the spot.
Making chocolate.
Dance.
Ooh, she wants to dance. There you go. There you go. Nothing wrong with that. Go live your dream, okay? Absolutely. I'll never die the richest guy in the world, but I'll die happy. I've made a lot of people happy, and along the way, it'd be cool. I've only cashed one paycheck of my life that was written to me by another company. And that's because I liked the girl. And she was back in a long time ago, and she was a busgirl at a restaurant. She wanted to go on vacation, and I knew the restaurant owner. And I liked this girl too. So they said, will you replace her for 1 week? And I did. Never got anywhere with that girl, but that's fine. You know, that was a long time ago. And it's all good. Any other questions? Well, thank you for listening to this old man and putting up with, you know, and thanks for coming to the Chocolate Expo. This is to support an industry that I absolutely love. Thanks, guys.
And thank you. Big hand, big hand. Got a great booth up front. Really good stuff up
Thank
there.
you.
Or right when you walk in the door to the left.
Yeah.